We are officially live and we're back here for another session. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exclusive. This is going to be a very special episode. So I will say this before I get into all the intro and pleasantries. Do yourself a favor. Stop what you're doing. Text, call all your partners, everybody in your community. Tell them to
Very
come on,
special episode.
watch this, and take notes because we truly have greatness that's in the room. And I'm just so happy and privileged to be able to have this individual on set. So, Transformation Greatness, along with SBN, the Small Business Network podcast, episode number 581. And we have here someone that is indeed a heavy hitter. Now, before I allow for her and tell you a little bit more about who she is and what she does, let me go ahead and read the bio because as I was reading this, I was like, wow, I was very impressed. But I also know too that she's not what you would call an overnight success. This is someone that has built her brand and her image. And I can tell she was very strategic and serious about it. So listen to this. Miss LaWanda Bradford, MPA, is a global strategist, financial analyst, and media personality with 30 plus years of experience helping companies and entrepreneurs uncover, listen to this, guys, over 2 billion, that's what it be, in operational efficiencies. And as the COO of the Bradford Group, she guides businesses and staying relevant and resilient through bold data-driven strategies. She is also the creator of the R3 system, which is a transformational framework that empowers leaders such as yourself to refocus, reframe, and reconnect for sustainable impact. She has trained over 45,000 professionals and brings a sharp insight to audiences worldwide. In addition to her accolades, she's also a five-time best-selling author. Her latest book, which is Pledge Allegiance, hit number one in Amazon's history of race and ethnic relations. Come on, somebody. That's called putting in work, right? She is the co-founder of Celebrate You, a global women's empowerment movement, and hosts three long-running shows on E360 TV. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said it before, and I'll say it again. We have greatness in the room. Please do me a favor, put a round of applause for the one, the only Miss LaWanna Bradford. Welcome aboard. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sean. I'm excited about this conversation.
Absolutely. So, with everything in which that you accomplished, right? Always like as far as for my guests to talk about their backstory, right? Because obviously, when you were born, you weren't born, having these skill sets. So people love to know the backstory, the journey, the beginnings on how you became Miss Bradford, the visionary extraordinaire. Would you like to share with us a little bit about who you are and basically your backstory, if you like?
Yeah, I will. I will condense it down for you. So I am an Army brat. I was born to a father who was in the military for 30 years. My father, who I just lost last year, was one of the last remaining Buffalo soldiers. So a lot of history and legacy that I'm trying to uphold in our family.
Oh, wow.
And I went to college at the University of Arizona, so traveling the world with my father, but he retired in Arizona, so that's how I ended up going to the U of A. And I wanted to be, believe it or not, Sean, I said, I'm going into medicine. I am going to be a cardiologist. Well, true story, real transparency. After not doing so well on that second year of physics, I thought, let me go to the counselors. Let me see what I can pick and graduate in 4 years. Well, fortunately, I had a heavy background in math, and so I changed my major to sociology with a minor in statistics. And my very first job was working for the Department of Defense as a statistician, working on manpower staffing standards for the installation of fiber optic cables. So I'm dating myself, satellite communications, ground communications. And I traveled the world. My territories were England, Germany, Korea, Japan, and the Eastern Seaboard. And I'm just this little green kid out there just enjoying myself, enjoying what I was able to do. The youngest on the team, learning how to adapt in that environment, right? Where you have to show up and prove yourself and not be called, hey, kid, get to the side. And then after that, I married someone who was in the military, and we transferred. And I decided I wanted to take a little bit of a break. And I thought I was going to try teaching. Well, I realized that is truly a gift that was not given to me. And so I went back into the workplace, but this time the best job I ever had, Sean, was working for the Olympics. I hung up my statistician hat and picked up my financial analyst hat. So I worked as a financial analyst for years, from the Olympics, then working for mass transit, and finally working in the consulting realm. Had my own business, the Bradford Group Consulting. One is a commercial investment mortgage company, which will be celebrating 20 years in August of this year. And then the Bradford Group Consulting. So we've worked with some of the largest government agencies, big named consulting companies. And now my passion is small businesses. How can I help small businesses remain relevant in times of disruption, times of change, times of uncertainty? And that's kind of where we find ourselves. So that's a quick run on how I went from there to here.
Gotcha. And thank you for sharing that, man. That is a major accomplishment indeed. And I'm very curious here, Miss Bradford, during your time of really just building up your resume, excuse me, in your name, because you did mention that you came from a military background and you was involved in other things. Was there someone, perhaps like in your family, that inspired you to be an entrepreneur, right? Because I know for me, my mother was like, well, obviously she was like my mother and father, but she was also my first role model as well, because she always taught me that you have this and to use this mind, and everything is figure outable. For the most part, everything is pretty much figure outable, and to be inventive, right? To not be afraid of taking chances and trying different things, right? And hey, if it don't work, it don't work. But nothing beats a failure but a try. I always remember she used to always tell me that nothing beats a failure but a try. But if you don't try, then you're considered as a failure. So with that being said, who was your first role model, or was there someone that truly inspired you that you said, you know what, looking at him or her, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur? Was there anybody in particular?
Oh, without a doubt, it was my father. My father was, I tell people, my mentor, my hero, my teacher, my best friend. And when he passed away last year, I felt like I lost all of that. But I realized, no, I physically, right? He's not here, but he imparted so much in me, and so much of who I am is because of him. And similar to what your mother said, my dad said, LaWanna, find something in life that you love so much that you'd be willing to do it for free, and you'll never work a day in your life. And I've always held that as my guidepost in choosing positions, even where I stand as an entrepreneur. If it's not bringing me joy, it doesn't delight me every time I open up my eyes, and I need to sort of rethink that equation. And my dad those are some big shoes to fill, and I realized it's not about filling his shoes. He walked his lane, he walked his journey. Now it's about me doing my thing in my lane and being committed to it.
Absolutely, 1,000%. Ladies and gentlemen, for those that just tuned in, welcome here to a very special episode here on Transformation Greatness, along with SBN, the Small Business Network podcast. This is episode 581, and we have here Miss LaWanna Bradford. And if I were you, those that's in the audience, I would be taking down notes, but more importantly, I'll be commenting and I'll be asking Ms. Bradford questions. Because one of the things I learned as being an entrepreneur and being in groups and different conferences, I remember my mentors used to always tell me, if you're going to go to a conference or go to a virtual event, especially if it doesn't cost you anything, when the time comes when they say, do you have any questions? Both of your hands need to be raised up.
Exactly.
Exactly, because that's how you learn. You don't want to be like those in the background, just got their shoulders shrugged, like, yeah, I heard this all before. Because when you have that mentality, no one can help you. And you will be struggling through this entrepreneur journey. I want to
Can
ask
I
you,
share something with on
you,
that? Just to
you
piggyback
sure
on
can?
that.
You sure can?
I went to a conference decades ago, and just like you said, there was this main player in the room, and everyone was rushing him, and I went up to ask my question, and I said I didn't really have a question. So my question was, if you could give me one piece of advice, what would it be? And I thought he was going to give me some advice about, financial stewardship or just, and he said, well, that's simple. He said, just remember there's never a lack of money. I'm like,
Mm,
what? He said, there is never a lack of money. There's only a lack of knowledge and wisdom. So never pray for money. Always pray for knowledge and wisdom, and the money will follow.
that's powerful. And yet,
Yeah,
so, but that's very interesting on what you said, because the world speaks otherwise.
it
The
does.
world doesn't promote, well, you get wisdom and knowledge, and that's where the prosperity comes. The world teaches, well, you got to go out there, you got to hustle, and you got to be top dog number one, and you got to do whatever it takes to get to the top. So that's very interesting that you said that, because I believe those that's watching this on the live or on a replay, you done shifted a person's paradigm. That you did. That you did. I want to ask you this about E360. How did that come about, E360 TV?
That was by happenstance. And I always tell people, you never know who's watching you, but I guarantee someone is. And so almost 7 years ago, I wanted to participate in the Women's History Month. And I was doing some Facebook Lives, and I thought, well, what could I do? I prayed about it. I thought God said, we'll interview 5 women. And I said, well, I can do that, about the theme. And the theme at the time was Choose to Challenge. God's like, no, I didn't say 5 women. I said 21 women from 5 nations. You kind of overlooked the 21. So I had 2 weeks to interview these women from UK, US, Uganda, Jamaica, and my mind went totally blank right now. And I don't know if I said the US, but I interviewed these women, and a TV network in Atlanta saw it, and they said, would you mind if we re-air this? I'm like, sure. I don't care. I wasn't thinking about being in media. That was the farthest thing on my list.
Right.
Well, they came back and they said, Lawanna, our ratings really bumped up on this show, on this series. Would you like to have your own show? And I said, doing what? They said, doing the same thing. And why don't you call it Choose to Challenge? So Choose to Challenge became my very first TV show. And then it was followed by Business and Financial Raw Talk and Power of the Pen. And I left that network, and I've been now on E360 TV for 6 years. So again, it just shows that your gifts will make a way for you. And I didn't know that was a gift. I just wanted to be a part of something bigger than me.
Right.
And the rest is history.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. Let me ask you, for those that may be watching, Ms. Bradford, and they're either aspiring entrepreneurs or saying to themselves, you know what, it's time, right? It's been calling at me, and a lot of people been telling me like, hey, you should really be an entrepreneur, and they're like, you know what, I want to be